Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 in Accra, Love 99.5 in Kumasi. Affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Jubilee Radio Keta, Sun City Radio Keta, Saboba FM Saboba, and A1 Radio Bolgatanga. We're live on Twitter Spaces, Facebook live stream, and My Joy online interactive app. The Midday News is sponsored by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank, where Duraplus goes, water flows. Also brought to you by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol, always a delightful experience. Coming up, another cost to businesses and consumers as electricity and water go up by 4% and 1% respectively, beginning September 1. But we're close to full cost recovery. We'll explore this with the Executive Secretary of PURC. More as the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, Samuel Agri, welcomes this adjustments.
This will not affect industry as such. I think for the first time, the PURC has really considered the industry as hand.
Also, a Ghanaian shot and 15 trucks burnt at Burkina Faso border as traders say they're living in fear of terrorist attacks.
Those jihadist people come out, try to stop them, they refused, not knowing that there are plenty people there. So they decided to start to shoot them. So they stopped, some of them stopped, and some of them go back.
Meanwhile, Chief of Naval Staff touts Ghana's Navy's role in combating kidnappings in the Gulf of Guinea, as he says Ghana's neighbors are beginning to see a resurgence in maritime attacks.
Not less than 11 of our sailors were kidnapped and taken to other places, and they were only rescued after they had paid a ransom.
As the super delegates of the NPP gear up to end the presidential ambition of 5 NPP hopefuls in 72 hours, there's a last attempt to be counted among the chosen.
Within the 5, how well I perform is what I'm thinking about now. Being the father of the 5, I don't think that is an issue.
It is clear that delegates have made up their minds, and they have made it up for Mr. Chematin's victory.
The party says it has put in place measures to safeguard the sanctity of the votes.
No other security, and I repeat, no other security will be permitted at the various voting centers throughout the country.
We have sports.
Ghanaian sprinters James Dadzi and Joseph Paul Amwa crash out of the men's 200-meter heats at the ongoing World Athletics Championships in Budapest.
And later, the ripple effect of the Bagri Dam spillage begins to take a toll on livelihood and farmlands in the Upper East region.
The farms are all flooded, and these are crops that are closer. But as it stands now, the depth of water on the farmland are so high that it is not even advisable for any person to get there.
We have details as NADMO advises farmers and community dwellers to stay away from water bodies due to uncertainty in water levels. We have details of all these coming up shortly. Please stay. Thanks for choosing us. I am Nyamekye Thompson. Now, from September 1, 2023, you would be paying more for water and electricity. This comes as the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission has announced a 4.22% increase in electricity tariff and 1.18% in water tariff. The Commission explains the quarterly review mechanism aims to track and incorporate changes in key factors used in determining natural gas, electricity and water tariffs. We'll be bringing you details of this shortly, but we'll move on to another story now. 15 trucks carting foodstuff from Niger to Ghana have been burnt at the Burkina Faso border by terrorists. Driver of the lead vehicle is responding to treatment after being shot in the attack. Before now, several drivers have died in similar attacks, with over 10 Ghanaian trucks being burnt. Nana Aljima of our foreign desk has more in the following report.
The Doli route into Burkina Faso from Niger has been abandoned by long-distance trucks following heightened activities of terrorists in the area. Videos available to Joy News show many trucks burnt at the border by terrorists earlier this year.
They burned our cars, so many, about 15 cars with onions, and we diverted to Benin.
Niger supplies Ghana with onions, beans, potash, cowhide, and local tea, popularly known as attire. Following the closure of the Benin border as a result of the ECOWAS sanctions against Niger, some drivers have had to consider other options. The Dambala enterprise owns 35 trucks, which have often been involved in carting food from Niger. For many days, some of the trucks have locked up in Niger. According to Masahudu Dambala, one of their vehicles opted for the Doli route, which is less preferred due to security concerns.
They were standing there waiting for Kombai, escort, yeah. So they were waiting for it, and then the escort is not coming. So one of the cars, that one is not our car, decided to follow the road. So when he succeeded, so the rest they say, okay, they too will try their best and see. So immediately they start going there. Those jihadist people come out, try to stop them, they refused, not knowing that there are plenty people there. So they started to start to shoot them. So they stopped, some of them stopped, and some of them go back. And then even some drivers leave the cars and run away. So our car is in front. So when they reach there, they bend the car.
So where's the driver now and what's his condition?
Yeah, he's in Niger, but the condition is somehow better.
One of the 3 affected trucks was carting onions bound for the Kwadaso market in Kumasi. All 330 onions in the affected trucks have rotten away after the vehicle was bent. Masaudu Mazu counts his loss. The leading truck was transporting beans, and the next one was transporting my onions. Those were the first to be attacked. They called me later to break the news to me. I couldn't ask them any further questions. Presently, the transport and import company, Dambala Enterprise, has closed operations to Niger. 15 of their trucks are locked up in the landlocked Niger. Many food importers in Kumasi stand the chance of losing their investments if the situation continues. For Joy News, Nana Yaljima reporting.
That was Nana Yaljima's report. We'll bring you more on this later. Meanwhile, the Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Issa Adam Yakubu, has trumpeted the role of the Ghana Navy in combating attacks and kidnappings in the Gulf of Guinea. Speaking during a media interaction ahead of the 2023 International Maritime Defense Exhibition and Conference scheduled to take place from the 29th to 30th August, he said in the year 2020, not less than 11 sailors were kidnapped with ransom paid before their release.
2021, we had Ghana alone had not less than 6 attacks, particularly on our vulnerable tuna vessels, and not less than 11 of our sailors were kidnapped and taken to other places, and they were only rescued after they had paid a ransom. I think this was in 2020. 2021, 2022, we did not experience any such attacks or kidnapping, as he said. 2023, we have seen some resurgence, not in our country, but in some neighboring countries. A few attacks have occurred, and that is why this conference has come very, very timely. But when those things occurred, as he said, they just didn't stop because the people didn't want to come again. We had to put strategies in place. And some of those strategies were developed during some of these conferences, and then the collaboration that we had with all the countries that are coming.
Well, my colleague Maxwell Agbagba joins us from Burma Camp with more on this. Maxwell, he's been talking about the International Maritime Defense Exhibition and Conference. Tell us more about that.
Yes, Bamyasi. So it's going to be the 3rd time the conference will be happening. It has been described as the largest gathering of Africa's maritime industry. IDEM, we are told, will bring together regional and international chiefs of naval staff to address the critical issues surrounding maritime security on the continent. We are told that President Akufo-Addo and other top officials are expected to be in attendance. We are also told that more than 20 stakeholders from different countries have actually expressed interest to be part of this particular conference, which is going to start from Tuesday.
All right, Maxwell, can you tell us about the National Integrated Maritime Strategy and how it's expected to deal with some of these attacks on the Gulf of Guinea?
Well, the National Integrated Maritime Strategy came up at this event, and we are told it's expected to provide a common policy approach and also coordinate efforts by state institutions to deal with maritime threats and also maximize Ghana's blue economy. It points more towards promoting and harnessing all components of the ocean or blue economy, including ensuring safety and security in the maritime space. So various speakers have been speaking about it, and we are told that it will feature prominently at this conference next week, Maame.
Thank you very much, Maxwell Agbagba. Meanwhile, in farmlands and livelihoods at the Upper East region are suffering the ripple effects from the spillage of Bagri Dam, of the Bagri Dam in Burkina Faso, which has begun to have a toll on livelihoods in the area. Sonabel, the dam's operators, alerted Ghanaian authorities about the management of the spillage last week. Despite not being the usual annual spillage period, the overflow from tributaries to the Bagri Dam had already damaged farmlands along the Boku West and Talensi districts. Jerry Asamane, the Upper East Regional National Disaster Management Authority coordinator, has cautioned residents to stay away from their farms due to the uncertainty in water levels.
The farms are all flooded, and these are crops that are closer, like for instance, corn, millet, and tobacco plants are all affected. But as it stands now, the depth of water on the farmland are so high that it is not even advisable for any person to get there, because more often they get there, they have ways of knowing the acreage. Either they take steps and they are able to determine, or they go by tapes. Sensitization is going on, not to farmers not to go, because once the flood takes place, the habitats of most reptiles, including snakes, crocodiles, are all also affected.
Well, let's go on the lines now and speak to our Upper East Regional Correspondent, Albert. Sorry, Albert, what's the latest on the situation now? Unfortunately, we are not getting Albert now. We'll be going back to that later. But let's go to our first story, where we're reporting that from September 1, you'd be paying more for water and electricity. And this comes as the PURC has announced a 4.22% increase in electricity tariffs and 1.18% in water tariffs. The Commission explains the quarterly review mechanism aims to track and incorporate changes in key factors used in determining natural gas, electricity, and water tariffs. Let's get more on this review from the Executive Secretary of the Commission, Dr. Ishmael Aka, who's joining us now on the phone lines. Dr. Aka, we're grateful for your time here. Now, this will be the third adjustment this year based on your quarterly reviews. Are we anywhere close to full cost recovery?
Thank you very much. To the best of our knowledge, I think we are recovering fully what the utilities need to operate and serve us better. Just that when we look at the first quarter, we had some areas we didn't pass on because we felt if we do, the tariff will be too much. So we left about 450 million, which we've recovered 40% now. So this tariff recovers fully the changes in the exchange rate, inflation, and the changes in gas price, plus 40% of the arrears. Yes.
Right. And what will be the implications on the utilities if the tariffs are not reviewed?
Yes. So the challenge is that when you take ECG and you take NEDCO and others, most of the PPAs they signed, they buy the power in dollars and sell in cedis. So at any point in time, what we do is that we estimate a certain exchange rate figure. So if we decide that the exchange rate is 8 for the next quarter, but for any reason the exchange rate moves to, let's say, 7 or it goes to 10, and we don't make any changes to the tariff, what it means is that they will have less CDs to buy power. So they may have to buy less, and that may lead to maybe serving few people, or they may have to borrow and buy. Another factor is inflation. Again, when we are doing the tariff, we estimate a certain level of inflation, and this change. Then the final one is the natural gas price. When we look at the last quarter tariff, the WACOG, the weighted average cost of gas, the gas we get from Jubilee, from TEN, from Nigeria, and from Sankofa, the weighted average was $6.5 per MMBTU. As of today, gas price is 8.12, an increment of 24%. So if we don't adjust now, and maybe in future the gas price goes up, what it means is that we may have to do a bigger adjustment. So that is why we do the quarterly. If for any reason these factors also come down, PURC will reduce the tariff so that consumers will benefit.
Well, grateful, but let's get some clarity on this. In your statement, you said that Lifeline customers will experience no increase or change in tariffs, but an approved 1.18% increase in tariff for all other water customer groups. Help us understand this. Who gets to pay the increase and who doesn't?
Thank you very much. So for this tariff, if you're a Lifeline customer, that is, we have ECG has about 724,000 customers who are considered Lifeline. They consume about 30 kilowatt hour, not more than that. So you have about 4 bulbs, you watch TV 8 hours a day, you don't have air conditioning, few other appliances. So about 700,000 of those, they will not experience any change in their tariff. Again, industry will not experience any change. So there's 0% increase for hairdressers, for all industries, including AGI members. The only group that experience a change of the 4.2% is the non-Lifeline residential. So that is if you are not a Lifeline customer, but you are using electricity in your home. If you are spending 100 cedis a month, your tariff is going up by 4 cedis. So it will be 404 cedis now. If you are spending, let's say, so that is it. If you are spending 100 cedis, let's say, yes, it's 104 now. If for water, again, if we are using water as a Lifeline, you don't do commercial, you don't use water for big things, but maybe for bathing, for small cooking and other things, you will not experience any change in your tariff. But all other people are experiencing about 1% change in tariff. So if we're spending 100 cedis on water per month, your tariff has gone up by 1 cedi.
Right, we're grateful for your time here. He's the Executive Secretary of the PURC, Dr. Ishmael Aka. Well, the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana has welcomed this new tariff adjustment and is stating that it will not significantly impact negatively on their work. Executive Secretary Samuel Agriarva notes that the PURC should come up with special adjustment packages to reduce the financial burden on them.
I think for the first time, the PURC has really considered the industry at hand, and this will not affect industry as such. But then with this increase, I would have wished they have gone ahead to make an announcement of downward trend for industry, so that at least we can see that industry can also benefit from this. But nonetheless, there has not been any increase yet, and if it will go that way, then I think it will be a positive sign for doing business within the industrial sector.
Well, moving on, the National Labour Commission is set to make key decisions in the protracted dispute between government and CTAG in a crucial meeting with stakeholders. Government had announced a non-payment of their August salary, accusing the teachers of no work done. Justifying the decision, Public Relations Officer Kwesi Kwarteng said, "Not working does not qualify you to be paid."
So what Ministry of Education is saying is that, well, in the month of August, you did not go to work. You did not work. Even against the National Labour Commission telling you that since all you are looking for has been agreed upon and has actually been approved and payment is scheduled for next month, you have to go to work. CITAC said no. But I mean, you know that CITAC, just like most of these colleges of education, is just like an industrial hub. You work to produce output and then we use that money to pay you. If you do not go to work, the fundamental question that we have to ask ourselves is that where do we get money to pay you?
While reacting to this, CITAC believes the Education Ministry's decision was taken without recourse to the series of events that had led them to this point, and that it would have been better for the minister to meet them to discuss the issues and withdraw the decision not to pay them. Prince Obinghima is president.
We were here before the National Labour Commission, and the commission has the right to make decisions. Remember, the last time we appeared before the commission made a passionate appeal to us. To as it were, appeal to our members to call off the action because they had started a process of resolving the matter. I believe that there is some kind of misinformation and some disconnect. So the minister isn't getting our intentions very clear. And naturally, if I were the minister and you were on strike and I invited you, somebody that I preside over, or your group that I preside over, and I get information that you said you won't come, certainly you will feel upset.
Okay.
And that will embolden you into taking such a decision.
Yeah.
That is why we reached out to him by writing to him to give him the background behind all of this. So I believe that this is the time for us to have an interface directly, not a showdown, so that we'll be able to, as it were, have a conversation.
I mean, if I understand you, you feel that this directive can be withdrawn and your salary is paid to you.
It can be withdrawn because we think that the National Labour Commission and all the other people that are refereeing the issue haven't declared our action illegal.
Prince Obinghima is president of CITAC. We understand that the NLC is in a meeting and will be taking key decisions on the strike. We'll be bringing you updates of that later. You're still listening to the Midday News, is sponsored by Duroplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank, where Duroplus goes, water flows. Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol, always a delightful experience. And still to come, the super delegates of the NPP gearing up to end the presidential ambition of 5 NPP hopefuls in 72 hours. Well, there's a last attempt to be counted among the chosen.
Within the 5, how well I perform is what I'm thinking about now. Being the father of the 5, I don't think that is an issue.
It is clear that delegates have made up their minds, and they have made it up for Mr. Chematin's victory.
When budgets are tight and money difficult to come by, you want to be sure you get the best value for your money. These are not times to be spending money fixing expensive engine problems because of cheap fuel and lubricants. Drive to a Petrosol station today and buy your quality fuel and lubricants, and rest assured of fuel that lasts long and lubricants that prevent expensive engine problems. Hear the sound. Petrosol. Clean fuel in full quantity.
Imagine say water wake up at dawn. You know both. You know chop. Where it vanish for your area for 2 weeks. You not get one drop safe inside your tank.
Hey.
Haja, our life was in dangerous. Only our neighbor get water with water tank.
Water tank?
Yes, water tank. Mamma mia, that water tank get meter for checking water level. That water tank be fine past Kumasi Selenium. That water tank be tough like Ghana Army. That water tank, they carry water pepe, so say some no go left inside the supply tank. What a tank! As my boss, Mr. Poncho, go talk.
Beautiful, durable, with water level indicator and accurate volume of water. Water tank. What a tank! By Duraplast.
Well, this is the Midday News, and Daniel Karanting is here with sports. Daniel.
Let's go straight into the stories. And Ghanaian sprinters James Dadzi and Joseph Paul Amwa crashed out of the men's 200-meter heats at the ongoing World Athletics Championships in Budapest. Amwa finished 5th in his heat, while Dadzi pulled out injured midway through his race, putting Ghana's relay hopes at risk. Joy Sports editor Fentu Tahiru is in Budapest and reports.
The 200 meters had 2 Ghanaians involved. James Darcy pulled out injured some 80 meters into his 200-meter heat. He's a national record holder in the event. He set that record back in April, but he's been battling an injury for some time now. And as we speak, he's currently in medical, and doctors are saying that he's aggravated the hamstring injury he had been carrying throughout the entire season. Joseph Paul Amo, on the other hand, did finish his race, but he told me after the race that he had his toe popped. He finished 5th eventually with 20.56 seconds. He, though, as well, is a medical, getting an x-ray. So now, critically, Ghana is racing against time to get both of those athletes fit to be back for the relays on Friday.
You enjoy sports editor Fentu Tahiru bringing an end to sports. Back to you, Maame.
Thank you, Daniel. Now, Energy Minister Matthew Poku-Prempeh has hinted at a number of actions being considered by government to curtail gold smuggling, including awarding whistleblowers in gold. Dr. Prempeh explains that this has become crucial in order to control the amount of gold leaving the shores of the country so as to maintain the recent gold for oil policy. The deal, which was adopted by government to address the galloping prices of fuel, is still producing dividends in pricing. But to sustain the deal, there has to be continued availability of gold to the Bank of Ghana to exchange for cheaper fuel. Sector Minister Matthew Poku-Prempeh was speaking at the Rotary Club of Accra Ring Road Central on Tuesday.
One thing that we have not been able to do, but if it's agreed as a policy, is to make Ghanaians watchdogs. Right? We are saying anybody who gives a tip off or tells us and identify somebody smuggling gold from us to lead to an arrest, that person will get 20% of it. Serious? Yes. You heard that one very well. And I'm sure very soon it will come up. If we start having challenges, because we have been informed by PMC that it is sticking. The levels that are being exported through lobby is gradually tipping. So we might come up with that. We might come up formally announce that policy, because I believe that nobody makes 20% profit on this gold business, right? So the person who's coming to buy the gold, he doesn't make 20%. So if Ghanaians who are aiding them to smuggle the gold now can benefit from 20%, I was even radical to think that we should sign a deal with our fellow countries, Togo and Ivory Coast. Anybody you catch smuggling gold from Ghana will give you 50% of the gold free.
You heard Energy Minister Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh. In some 72 hours, the presidential ambition of 5 among the 10 NPP hopefuls will come to an end. Identified members in the party constituting into a Super Delegates Congress will vote and select the 5 to go through the National Delegates Congress in November to elect a flag bearer for the 2024 general elections. There's a last-minute push to be counted among the chosen. Former Food and Agriculture Minister Dr. Owusu Yakoto is demanding transparency and fairness in the election.
How well I perform is what I'm thinking about now. You know, it's not being the father of the 5. I don't think that is an issue. But the people of Ghana will rise up not rise up. They will get in the evening of 2026 to realize that the noise do not vote. It's the message with votes.
Yeah. And the party also issued some guidelines.
Yes.
One of them that ministers, MPs, MMDC should not act as polling station executives.
Agents.
And agents.
Yes.
They are also implementing a system such that the ballot will not be tracked, so that people will not be able to identify how somebody voted.
Right.
Or are these welcoming guidelines?
No, these are guidelines that we proposed. We proposed, the Electoral Commission accepted, the IGP has accepted. Everybody will be searched.
Campaign spokesperson for Alan Tremonting has cautioned members of parliament, constituency chairmen and others who would be participating in the Congress to reward their delegates by electing formidable candidates on Saturday, August 26. Here's Iyao Bwabinga Samoa.
It is clear that delegates have made up their minds, and they have made it up for Mr. Tremonting's victory. Everywhere we've been, if the chairman or the MP is unable to be firm and to say it as it is, the delegates, the polling station executives start to grumble. And they start, in some places, I've heard them say that if our chairman and our MP don't take a good decision, next time they shouldn't even pick forms to contest for any position. We are going to deal with them. We believe it is Tremonting's time and he's the one we want. That's what they are saying.
The Elections Committee of the NPP has indicated that no personal security will be allowed at the voting grounds during the Super Delegates Congress. According to the committee, the police has been entrusted to take full control of the election. These were among other modalities on the conduct of the Congress announced by Vice Chairman of the Elections Committee, Mr. Abankwa. And moving on, she's determined to make a strong case for Ghana at the global stage in the climate change research and discussions. Professor Nanama Brown-Kluche, head of physics department at the University of Ghana, is the first Ghanaian to be elected as a vice chair of the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. For Climate Focus, Mohammed Nuruddin asked what her appointment signifies.
I have worked with the IPCC in various capacities since 2017, and I worked first as a lead author and also a member of the data task force on data on behalf of Africa. I was the only African in there anyway. And I have also worked contributing to other chapters of the IPCC report.
Her working Group 1 for the 7th assessment of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change investigates the physical science foundations of the past, current, and future climate change.
So, Prof, I would like you to update us.
Professor Nana Ama Brown-Kluche and her physics students are overjoyed at her election.
It's already 9 days in office.
Yes.
And how has the experience been?
I was particularly excited when I heard about her position, her being elected into the IPCC Bureau.
And that's it for the bulletin. In our top story, another cost to business and consumers as electricity and water tariffs go up by 4% and 1% respectively. I am Maame Nyamekye Thompson. There's more news on my Joy